Is the summer of 401 BCE. The sun in Persia hangs heavy, the air thick with heat and dust. Somewhere beyond the marble palaces and bustling marketplaces, a man is led to the edge of a river. His crime? A betrayal so deep, the king himself decreed that his punishment must be remembered for centuries and feared for millennia. They call it Scaphism, the boats, not a machine of iron or rope, but a stage where nature itself becomes the executioner. The condemned is laid between two hollowed-out wooden shells, boats that close over his body like a coffin, split in two. His head, arms, and legs protrude, helpless under the open sky. Then comes the cruelty disguised as kindness. He is force-fed milk and honey until his stomach cramps and groans under the weight. His skin, too, is coated in that same sticky sweetness, a perfume irresistible to flies, ants, and every crawling thing in the riverlands. As the hours turn to days, the heat bakes the honey into his pores. Insects swarm, laying eggs in open sores. Mosquitoes drink his blood. Beetles tunnel into his flesh. The milk turns sour inside him, feeding the sickness growing in his gut. He cannot swat, cannot scratch, cannot even roll away from the agony. The river's gentle current rocks the boats, but offers no comfort, only a slow drift toward death. Sometimes the condemned lasted more than a week, delirious, crying out to the gods or whispering to no one. The Greek historian Plutarch tells of a soldier named Mithridates, sentenced in this way for killing a royal's brother. His suffering, it is said, dragged on for 17 days before the insects finally claimed him. Scaphism was never just a killing. It was a spectacle, a message to the empire that betrayal would be punished not with swift justice, but with a slow living surrender to the smallest of executioners. Now let's go over to the sun-baked island of Sicily, a place where beauty and cruelty once shared the same throne. In the city of Acragas, under the reign of the infamous tyrant Phalaris, art and death merged into one monstrous creation, the Brazen Bull. Imagine a hollow sculpture of bronze, shaped like a majestic bull. But this was no harmless idol for worship. It was an oven for human flesh. A person would be locked inside its belly and a fire lit beneath. The metal would heat, the air would thicken, and the victim would be roasted alive. The most macabre part, the bull was designed with a system of pipes and tubes so that the screams within would be transformed into deep, haunting bellows, the cry of a beast that never lived. Legend says that Parallaeus, the very craftsman who presented this invention to Phalaris as a gift, became its first victim, a grim payment for his ingenuity. In this way, the Brazen Bull became both a tool of terror and a symbol of the tyrant's power, a reminder that in certain hands, even beauty can kill. Anyways, that was for the Brazen Bull. During medieval and early modern Europe, the wheel was not for travel, but for ending journeys. Born from ancient Roman cruelty and refined by Germanic law, it became the final chapter for thieves, murderers, and traitors. From the 13th century into the 18th, across France, the Holy Roman Empire, and beyond, the condemned would be bound, their limbs measured by fate. The wheel itself was no ordinary cartwheel. It was massive, taller than a man, its wooden rim darkened by years of weather and blood. Thick spokes stretched from a hub of iron, each one like a skeletal arm, ready to cradle the broken remains of those who defied the law. In the cold morning light, It cast long, spidery shadows over the square, as if the wheel itself were alive, waiting to claim another soul. With deliberate strikes, iron bars shattered bone after bone, until the body could be threaded between the spokes, woven into the wheel's frame like some grotesque tapestry. High above the crowd, the broken form turned slowly, creaking in the wind. To the onlookers, it was both warning and sermon, a slow, agonizing message where flesh met justice and time itself became the executioner. From the crushing spokes of the wheel, we journey east to the heart of Imperial China, where death was not dealt in an instant, but carved out in fragments. Lingchi, death by 1,000 cuts. It was a sentence not of a single stroke, but of long legalized attrition. The state kept counting cuts, society in shame. The condemned was bound to a wooden frame in the public square, their face pale beneath the gaze of a silent crowd. The executioner, calm, almost ritualistic, approached with a blade honed for patience, not speed. The first incision was small, so was the second and the third. Over minutes, hours, sometimes longer, flesh was taken in strips and slivers, each cut a deliberate theft of life. Death might come by blood loss, by shock, or days later from infection. For nearly a millennium, from the 10th century until its ban in 1905, this punishment served as both execution and public theater in Imperial China, its shadow reaching into parts of East Asia. The last known cases are still within living memory of the modern world. For the condemned, Lingchi was more than death. It was the erasure of the body, the breaking of the spirit, and the branding of dishonor upon the family name. For those who witnessed it, the memory cut just as deep as the blade. If Lingchi was the art of unmaking the body in countless slices, then crucifixion was the science of breaking the spirit in plain sight. From Imperial China, we travel now to the heart of the Roman world, sun-scorched provinces where empire and law were written in blood. A rough beam, a hammer, iron nails, or sometimes only rope. The condemned was affixed, arms stretched wide, their weight slowly collapsing their chest until each breath became a battle. Death did not rush here. It crept hour after hour under the gaze of passers-by. In the age of Caesar and Christ, this was the fate of rebels, slaves, and those who defied the empire's will. One such figure, Jesus of Nazareth, would make this punishment infamous for all eternity. The Romans planted their crosses at the edges of roads, turning the dying into signposts, each silhouette both a warning and a spectacle. But if Rome mastered crucifixion, other cultures found their own ways to turn death into a theater of agony. But Rome's cruelty was not the final word. Long after the empire's crosses had rotted into the earth, other rulers found new ways to make pain speak louder than law. In crowded marketplaces and town squares, a great cauldron would be set to flame. Its contents, water, oil, even molten tar, churned and hissed like some living thing. The condemned was led forward, the smell of heat and fear hanging thick in the air. Boiling was not merely an execution, it was a performance, a kettle of law and spectacle. Every scream, every rising cloud of steam was meant to etch the lesson deeper into the watching crowd. Disobedience had a taste, and it was scalding. From the searing bite of boiling oil, we moved to yet another stage of human cruelty, one that sought not to burn the flesh, but to break the mind before the body followed. The hiss of boiling oil fades, but the cruelty of humankind takes on another shape. one colder and far more deliberate. Where some sought to scorch their enemies, others chose to unmake them piece by piece. In the ancient courts of kings, punishment could be both execution and declaration, a message carved into history itself. Some conquerors counted skin among their trophies. With knives honed for more than war, they peeled life from flesh while the heart still beat. In Assyrian royal inscriptions, the act is not hidden in shame, but etched in triumph. Flayed enemies displayed for all to see, their fate becoming both threat and testament. It was not a punishment of mere death, but of erasure, turning a human body into a warning hammered into stone. And yet, there were torments that offered neither quick death nor complete destruction, but instead trapped their victims in lingering, unimaginable